7 bone-chilling wilderness horror stories that haunt you long after midnight. The forest loomed like a dark, greedy giant, ready to swallow any unwary wanderer whole, and that was just the start. Deep within that tangled wilderness, there were whispers, faint, flickering voices carried on the chill wind, mingling with the rustling branches. Some swore they heard their names called from the deep shadows, just before the sudden snap of a branch sent panic skittering like a small animal through their veins. It was a place where reality twisted like the gnarled roots beneath the soil, and where every rustle added another layer to the suspense that gripped explorers with icy fingers. A group of hikers had ventured far beyond the well-worn path, seeking an adventure that promised thrills, but what they found was far more terrifying. Underneath the ancient pines, they discovered a series of markings on the trees, unsettling symbols that pulsed with an otherworldly energy as dusk crept in. Each mark seemed alive, whispering secrets in a language as old as the hills, sending shivers racing down their spines. They had laughed when they first found them, but those giggles quickly turned into hushed breaths as they realized they were not alone. With each step further into the woods, the weight of unseen eyes pressed down on them. A laughter that didn't belong to the living echoed through the brush, wrapping around them like smoke, clinging tight enough to make their hearts pound. They found it hard to shake the feeling that the trees themselves were watching, shifting under the weight of too many secrets, too many stories lost to time. Night descended suddenly, the daylight snuffed out like a candle's flame, leaving only darkness and the twisting path behind them. Just when they thought they could escape back to safety, the ground beneath their feet itself seemed to shift. A gut-wrenching scream tore through the night, slashing the weighted silence. It wasn't until they ran, breathless and terrified, that they realized the scream hadn't come from their own throats. It came from the woods themselves, a mournful wail echoing through the thick underbrush, as if the very trees were mourning something long gone. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the group stumbled back, desperately retracing their steps, the air grew thick with an unshakable tension. Shadows shifted in the corners of their eyes, and panic rose with every odd sound that pierced the stillness. It was either the forest wanting them to stay, to join its eternal darkness, or something much worse hunting them down, waiting for their fear to overcome them. With every heartbeat, they felt the irresistible pull of the wilderness snaring them deeper in its unforgiving embrace. And just as they felt they might finally find a way out, a flash of pale light illuminated something horrifying ahead, leaving them frozen. What lay before them that night, they could never have imagined. The pale light flickered, revealing a clearing that seemed to pulse with an eerie glow. The hikers stood frozen, their breath visible in the cold air, visible and trembling. What they saw was a crude altar, made of twisted branches and mossy stones, adorned with fragments of clothing and strange, hair-like fibers that twisted and curled in the breeze. In the center of the altar, a faceless figure made of roots and shadow hovered, pulsating as if it were alive, drawing the light in like a hungry beast. Their minds raced. Was this some sort of dark offering? A warning? They huddled closer together, the urge to flee met with an equally powerful need to understand what they were witnessing. The laughter from earlier had faded into a thick silence, as if the forest was holding its breath, waiting to see what these intruders would do next. Ari, the most adventurous of the group, stepped forward, captivated. Maybe we should take a closer look. The words left his lips, but as they did, the air shifted, whipping violently as a gust of wind howled through the clearing. It circled them, pulling at their clothes like desperate hands. The distant wailing, which had seemed to fade into the background, surged again, louder, more insistent. "Don't you dare!" cried Maya, grabbing Ari's arm. "Get back! We don't know what that is." As panic surged through the others, the figure on the altar began to reshape itself, stretching and morphing with a hideous elegance. Chills coursed down their spines as it twisted to face them, an abyss of darkness where a face should have been. In that moment, the very fabric of their reality seemed to fray, and they could hear each other's heartbeats thundering like war drums, echoing the primal fear that coursed through them. Isaiah, desperate for escape, shouted, "Run! Now!" His voice broke the trance, and they turned on their heels, fleeing into the oppressive darkness, the air heavy with the scent of decay and damp earth. Branches clawed at their arms and legs, pulling them back as if the forest had come alive, eager to ensnare them. Every snap of a twig echoed like cannon fire, each breath they took felt heavy and labored. The forest itself seemed to lose all sense of direction, turning them around like a cruel maze, a place where pathways twisted into nothingness. Less than a mile from the clearing, they had been running for what felt like hours, yet they were still deeper in the woods than before. Another scream pierced the air, chilling them to the bone. They had abandoned reason, their frantic gasps filled with an unquenchable dread. Orange eyes glowed around them, flickering in and out of the shadows. Were they just the reflections of their own terror, or did something truly haunt the woods? "Is everyone still here?" shouted Maya, her voice trembling as the group stumbled to a halt. They turned to check on one another as fear settled in like an unwanted guest. It was then they noticed, someone was missing. That a suffocating wave of horror washed over them. "Ari, where was Ari?" "Keep moving," Isaiah insisted, but felt paralyzed as the shadows closed in. Suddenly, the trees themselves felt like they were closing ranks on them, the light bearing down with a weight that was almost unbearable. As they began to walk again, searching for a path, they heard it, a whisper carried through the rustling branches, low and chilling, "Join us." The terror they felt was now gnawed at by confusion. The forest seemed to pulsate with rhythm, as if it were alive, bidding them to surrender completely. They were close to the edge of something they couldn't comprehend, and something within its depths was waiting, hungry and watching. What awaited them beyond the trees, and would they be strong enough to survive the forest's allure? As they trudged forward, a dark thought crept into their minds: maybe escape wasn't what the woods wanted at all. Panic wrapped itself around the group like a shroud. Each step they took felt heavier than the last, weighed down by dread. The chilling whisper lingered in their ears, permeating their minds with thoughts they couldn't shake. "Join us" echoed in Maya's head, a sinister invitation that begged for a darker acceptance. "Did you hear that?" Isaiah's voice cut through the air, cracking. The bearings of their situation crumbled with each moment. Ari's absence clawed at them. Why had they let him wander off? Maya's hands trembled, the cold biting deeper as the forest loomed, ominous and vast. "We have to find him," she said, her resolve fighting against the suffocating fear. Incredulity crossed Isaiah's face. "Are you insane? We can't go back there." But every fiber in Maya's being screamed against the alternative. The thought of abandoning Ari, lost among that malevolent darkness, ignited rage and sorrow. "Please, we have to try." Her voice broke, and in that moment of hesitation, the woods responded. From the shrouded depths around them came a rustling, creaking like the sound of trees shifting, closing in. For a second, all they could see were shapes moving in the shadows, darting behind the trunks and slipping away. The whispers intensified, 100 voices merging into one silent roar, each one beckoning for acceptance, for surrender. Maya gripped Isaiah's arm, fear vibrating through her. "If we go back, we might save him. He wouldn't leave us. We can't leave him." With a desperate heart, she turned, forcing herself to retrace their path. The air grew denser, the shadows deepening, wrapping around their ankles. Irrational thoughts crept into her head. What if Ari had succumbed to the whispers? What if he had been drawn farther into the forest, deeper into unknown horrors? "Maya." Isaiah's voice sounded strained as he fell into step behind her. "We should stick together." "Wait, can you hear that?" Thumping heartbeats throbbed in the silence, a drum that resonated with a primal ferocity. They paused, straining to listen. The nightmare symphony answered, a low hum that seemed to pulse with each beat, begging them to succumb. The darkness seemed to push back, and shadows flickered, shapes darted just out of sight, lurking just beyond their trembling hands. Searching for familiarity, they moved ahead, the clearing now distant but alive in their memories. Was it a warning or a plea? The answer felt twisted and elusive. Maya. A distant voice. It was faint, barely breaking through the chaotic clamor of the forest, but it sent a jolt of fire up her spine. Ari. Did you hear that? She turned to Isaiah, hope igniting both their eyes. Let us go. He whispered urgently, and they forged ahead, driven by the impossibly fragile thread of hope. With every step they took, the haunting whisper evolved into an agonizing wail, pleading, shrieking, calling for something that made their blood run cold. As they forged deeper into the thrumming darkness, they stumbled upon the remnants of their previous chaos, the crude altar, twisted and pulsing like a terrible heartbeat. On it lay scraps of clothing, Ari's jacket, blue and unmistakable, stained and adorned with jagged whispers of a once human form. No, no. Maya gasped, choking on her horror. Instinct screamed at them that this could not be. The forest had taken her friend, it had claimed him. Before they could process their shock, movement flickered behind them, swift as a shadow. The same dark figure they had seen before swirled into existence, more defined this time, stretching towards them. Its dark mouth opened, revealing a cavern of impossible void. Join us, it echoed once again, the voice instantly recognizable. It was Ari, the words were his, but the tone rang hollow, what remained of their hope crumbled in the face of doubt. Was that truly him? Or had the woods twisted him into something vile and unrecognizable? They stood immobilized, on the precipice of despair, knowing too well that to join would mean surrendering everything they knew. But deep down, the forest called them, alluring, insistent, and malevolent. The frigid breath of the darkness brushed against their skin, the question loomed over them like the sword of Damocles: should they join or fight back? And those flickering orange eyes, closing in from the edges, demanded an answer they didn't have. What would they choose, in the darkest moments of their hearts? Escape, or acceptance? The figure loomed closer, its shape more menacing than before. Shadows crawled from its limbs, and the echo of Ari's voice twisted through the air, chilling Maya to her core. She felt Isaiah's grip tighten on her arm, his panic palpable, a physical entity fighting to keep them both tethered to this reality. Ari, is that really you? She managed to whisper, her voice trembling like a leaf in a storm. The creature hesitated, a flicker of something familiar passing behind its unnatural gaze. Join us, the words slithered from its mouth, now weaving into a melody that tugged at Maya's heart, a siren's call wrapped in dread. Isaiah's breath hitched, and he stepped back, instinctively pulling her with him. We need to go. This isn't him. Panic brewed in his eyes. No. She pulled against him, desperation surging. What if it is? What if he is trapped and needs us? Tears coursed down her cheeks, mingling with the cold, sharp panic knotting deep in her stomach. The figure reared back slightly, as if feeding off their uncertainty. Dark tendrils swirled around it, curling as if alive, reaching out to draw them in. Maya's legs trembled. The forest pulsated, a living entity dancing around them, hungry for their fear. Stay there. Isaiah shouted suddenly, his voice resonating with fierce determination. He picked up a nearby branch, brandishing it like a weapon against the encroaching terror. You're not Ari anymore. You're just a monster. Maya's heart raced. She hated the look in Isaiah's eyes, defiance fused with fear, a fragile resolve teetering on the edge. We need to get out, she whispered, desperation tightening her grip on the only thread of sanity left inside her, but something flickered in the dark figure's hollow gaze. It took a step closer, and with it, the candles of hope flickered out entirely. Join us, the voice was now a cacophony, not only Ari's, but the whispers of all who had been lured into this wicked place. The creatures that emerged from the shadows, silhouettes of lost souls twisted by the darkness, encircled them. Each face bore the haunted remnants of lives once lived, their eyes pleading for release. It was all around, shadowy forms wrestling against an unseen chain, begging for freedom just beyond the reach of reality. Maya resisted the urge to break down and cry, yet sobs threatened to escape. "We can't give up on him," she shouted, fury igniting the last flicker of her resolve. "We can't save him like this." Isaiah cried back, his voice shaking. "We need to fight." In that moment of raw emotion, clarity broke through the chaos. The altar pulsed violently beneath them, resonating with a harsh truth that settled in the pit of Maya's stomach. The forest wasn't just trapping Ari, it thrived on their despair, feeding off the darkness each of them felt. "Fight!" she echoed, and for a heartbeat, everything went silent. The shadows recoiled slightly in retreat, as if they feared the light that had sparked in her chest. Together. Isaiah breathed, taking a bold step forward, and Maya mirrored him, heart pounding. They locked eyes, a bond stronger than the darkness surrounding them. The shadows seemed to howl in agony at their unity. They had made a choice not for Ari, but for themselves. "Get ready!" Maya shouted, raising her arms as if to embrace the shadows, to light a fire in the dark. Suddenly, the forest erupted in shrieks, and the ground trembled. The darkness felt alive, angry that it was being challenged. But what they didn't know was that some choices come with a cost, and fighting back might unleash something even more sinister, something that could consume them both. As the shadows lunged forward, they prepared for a confrontation that would test their courage and commitment. What awaited them beyond the veil of darkness? Was it a way forward or a descent into madness? Maya's heart thundered in her chest as the shadows lunged, a wave of swirling darkness crashing into them. Chaos erupted. The air thickened, weighed down by the cries of the countless lost souls. It was as if the forest itself screamed, a living organism intent on preserving its prey. The ground shook beneath their feet, sending tremors racing through Maya's body. She spun to face Isaiah, who stood firm, his branch raised defiantly. "We can do this!" he yelled, conviction burning in his voice. She could feel the heat of his determination radiating toward her, igniting a fire that began to flicker within her own heart, but doubt clawed at the edges of her resolve. "What if we can't?" she called back, fear sinking its teeth into her. The darkness pressed in closer, threading through the air like ice, chilling her to the bone. Shadows whispered beyond understanding, taunting her vulnerabilities. "Focus!" Isaiah shouted, and his fierce gaze steadied her. Maya took a deep breath, trying to clear her mind of the wrapping tendrils suffocating her thoughts. She felt the weight of the moment, the impossible pressure of choice looming over them like a dark cloud. The shadows bent and twisted, forming grotesque, screaming faces as they neared. The once familiar figure of Ari took form amid the chaos, its features distorted in agony. Maya it beckoned, a sickly sweetness coating its voice, pulling her deeper into its trap. "Ari!" she screamed, and instinctively reached out toward the figure, but Isaiah jerked her back. "Don't! It's not him anymore." With a frantic shaking of her head, Maya fought against the pull of despair threatening to swallow her whole. "We can't lose him." Her voice broke, raw and desperate. But behind that determination lay an undeniable truth. Every lost soul around them seemed intertwined with Ari's fate, feeding this dark forest's hunger. "Fight, Maya. Use the fire," Isaiah urged. She closed her eyes for just a moment, drawing on every ounce of love she had for Ari, every laugh shared, every secret whispered beneath the stars. It filled her chest, a warmth battling the cold. "We're not joining you," she screamed into the night, feeling the heat of her defiance swell within her. The shadows recoiled at her words, quaking with uncertainty. She opened her eyes and raised her arms again, channeling that love, letting it blaze through her. "We will break this curse." Isaiah joined her, standing firm by her side. They were two flames igniting hope in the darkest hour. Together, they conjured that formidable light, blasting it into the shadows, illuminating the chilling landscape with a fierce brightness that forced the shadows to writhe and retreat. The ground lurched again, the altar rumbling as if responding to their call. The shadows screamed, not of fear, but rage, a primal sound that clawed at the edges of reason. Suddenly, tendrils lashed out wildly, slashing at the air, and Maya stumbled backward. Isaiah steadied her, eyes wide with resolve. "We have to keep fighting." But even as they pressed forward, a chilling realization crept into Maya's mind: they were not the only ones fighting. Other figures began to emerge from the darkness, angry, tortured souls rising to confront the darkness that had ensnared them for so long. "What are they doing?" Maya gasped, her breath catching in her throat. "I think they want to be free." Isaiah's voice trembled. As they surged forward, shadows twisted around them like vipers, slashing the air with an insatiable hunger. The eyes of the lost souls bored through the darkness, vying for release but holding on to something, a flicker of hatred, fear, and despair. Maya realized a great reckoning was unfolding. What if she started, her mind racing as she pieced together the fragments of fear and hope? What if we're not just fighting for us? Behind them, the shadows groaned and shrieked, conspiring against their fragile resolve. "Isaiah, we need to make a choice," she whispered. "This can't just be about escaping. It's more, bigger than us." With the darkness closing in, the choices pressed down, and each heartbeat felt like a countdown. What awaited them on the other side? True freedom, or something much worse? Maya's heart raced, each beat echoing like thunder in her ears. The shadows swirled around them, dark tendrils writhing like snakes desperate for their next meal. She felt the weight of tormented souls hovering, their anguish palpable. Freedom seemed so close, yet profoundly unreachable. "Isaiah!" she shouted, her voice barely breaking through the cacophony of anguished cries. "We can't just think of us. We need to help them." Isaiah's face twisted in indecision, a flicker of empathy flashing in his eyes. "But how?" he responded, his voice sharp with fear. "There are too many, Maya." Maya's gaze swept over the figures emerging from the shadows. Resolute faces twisted with sorrow, anger, and desperation, but no true malice, only the desire to break free. What if they were key? What if their collective force could disrupt the darkness? "Together!" she shouted, igniting a spark of determination within her. "We can be the light they need." The realization made her pulse quicken with hope. "We need to reach their hearts. Maybe then, they can rise with us." Isaiah hesitated but then downturned his brows, disbelief mixed with a glimmer of reckoning. "How do we even start?" "Connect with them," she urged, hands reaching toward the swirling chaos, glowing warmth sparking from her fingertips. "They need to feel that they are not alone." As Maya channeled her love and hope, the shadows recoiled at her light, hissing like disturbed beasts. Nearby figures seemed to halt, their once flailing forms pausing as if startled by this new wave of energy. Maya felt a shift. They weren't just shadows, they were souls trapped, entwined in anguish. She could sense every fear, every shred of betrayal that held them back. They needed forgiveness, a path to release. "Hear us!" Maya shouted, her voice rising alongside the swirling light. "We've all lost something. But we fight together. We want you to be free." Then, something amazing happened. The figures began to step forward, a collective movement toward her warmth. Their angrily contorted faces softened, the screams lessened, giving way to almost hopeful murmurs. They were listening. Isaiah's eyes widened. "It's working!" he exclaimed. "Keep going." The darkness screeched, panicking at the sight of souls reclaiming their power. Shadows whipped around in violent arcs, aiming to tear apart the tenuous bond forming between them. Maya could see the fear in every face, the shackles of despair. But the revelation of solidarity pushed forward, binding their spirits. With renewed resolve, Maya channeled every light-filled memory she had, flashes of laughter, love, and the unyielding belief that even lost souls could find their way home. "You are not alone. We will help you." As her heartfelt words resonated, a pulse of radiant energy surged through the air. The figures began to unify, floating closer to her, illuminated by her warmth. They were losing their chains, tentative hands reaching out to grasp the light. But the darkness screamed louder, a howl of rage and desperation that began to twist the very fabric of the world around them. The altar beneath their feet trembled, tendrils snapped like whips, desperate to reclaim their prize. "Maya, behind you!" Isaiah yelled, lunging as a shadow darted toward her, jaws poised to consume. She didn't have time to react. A violent crash echoed, and the earth shook violently, splitting open beneath them. The bond forged just moments before wavered, shadows thrust it into the growing crevice, clawing at her ankles. With uncertainty looming in her chest, Maya realized with horror that this could be their last chance. Surrounding darkness was collapsing, ready to snap them into oblivion. "Maya!" Isaiah shouted, reaching toward her, terror etched across his face. "We can't let this slip away." Their eyes locked. Would they abandon their hope for others, or stand against the darkness that sought to shatter everything? In that heartbeat, as the world around them fractured, Maya made her choice. Tightening her grip on Isaiah's hand, she prepared to summon the last of her power. "Together, we'll defeat this." But as they focused to draw upon the light, a figure emerged from the shadows, gripped by rage and despair. An anguished face they knew all too well. "Ari!" Maya breathed, heart sinking, the shadow of her past threatening to swallow their future. Could they truly face the wrath of the very being they fought to save? Or would the darkness consume them all? Ari stepped forward, her presence palpable, like ice pressing against Maya's skin. The moment between them buzzed with tension, a tightrope stretched above a chasm of despair. The shadows writhed, eager to claim their prize, their whispers intensifying into a deafening hum. "Ari," Maya stammered, the name clinging to her lips like ash. Memories flooded back, warm laughter replaced by screams echoed in the corners of her mind. How could she fight the darkness of a soul steeped in rage and regrets? "Maya." Ari's voice dripped like venom. "You think you can save them? After everything? You abandoned me." "No." Maya shook her head, disbelief melting into pain. "I fought for you. I never stopped fighting." Ari's gaze darkened, shadows clinging to her like a cloak. "Your light makes me sick. This is my world now, and I want to let you take it away." The ground heaved violently, threatening to swallow them whole. Maya felt the vibrations travel up her legs, making it hard to stand. Isaiah, standing beside her, gritted his teeth. "Maya, focus. We can't let her do this. Remember who she really is." But the shadows persisted, swirling around them, whispering doubts that clawed at Maya's resolve like fingernails on glass. Ari was once the embodiment of their shared dreams, joy lighting her eyes. But darkness now shadowed that spark, twisted it into something vile. "If you truly believe in your light, then prove it." Ari challenged, stepping closer, shadows spiraling around her like a tempest. "Show me it can outshine my darkness." Maya hesitated. How could she shine with fear licking at her heels? But then she looked at the gathered souls, their faces lifting in desperate hope, fragile yet resolute as they reached for her, longing to break free. If she did not fight for them, who would? She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "Ari, I'll fight for you too. I won't give up on you, no matter how deep the darkness runs." With every ounce of her being, Maya summoned the warmth inside her, the love and hope that had once bound them. The light surged from her fingertips, radiating fiercely, illuminating the shadows trying to entwine Ari. Maya could feel the battle within Ari, could sense the flicker of a fight, a wish to break free. "Fight, Ari!" she cried, emboldened. "You're not just this darkness. You can choose." But the shadows roared, furious at the flicker of light that dared to defy them. They lashed out, striking at the altar, sending shards of earth tumbling into the growing void beneath them. "Maya!" Isaiah shouted, but her focus remained on Ari. "Remember the laughter. The dreams we built together. Don't you want to feel that again?" Maya pleads, light pulsing brightly. Please come back to us. Ari flinched, her shadowed visage quivering as if wrestling with itself. The dark threads binding her pulled tight, and Maya could see the struggle in her eyes, the remnants of a soul yearning to be whole. Enough! Ari screamed, her voice breaking through the turmoil, a mixture of rage and sorrow. Suddenly, a violent wind ripped through the space, knocking Maya off balance. The shadows howled, a cacophony of fury that drowned out everything else. Each gust threatened to tear her away, to beckon her into an abyss of despair. Ari's figure shimmered, flickered like a poorly tuned radio, the essence of her spirit fighting against the dark tide. Maya's heart raced. Was this enough? Could she really reach her? As the darkness surged, Maya pushed the light deeper, shimmering rays threading toward Ari. Shadows clawed and scratched, their screeches piercing through her resolve. Let the light in. She screamed, a plea that echoed through the labyrinth of shadows. The very world around them shook as a brilliant burst of light erupted between them. It pulsated, drawing the light that was Ari forth, forcing the darkness to recede, bit by bit. But the shadows writhed with increased fury, and one dark tendril lashed out with a vengeance, aiming for Maya's heart. No! Isaiah cried, but time froze, trapping Maya in a moment of realization. The choice was not just between light and dark. It was a fight for hope, an existence worth living without hauntings from the past, and then everything erupted. In a blinding flash, the world shifted, colliding with chaos, leaving Maya gasping for breath, caught between the battle of light and despair, Ari's anguished face fading as shadows clawed at the edges of her consciousness. Was this the moment of reckoning, or had she unleashed something far darker than she could ever imagine? The truth lay ahead, but at what cost? Maya blinked, eyes squinting against the sudden brightness, only to be plunged into a world of chaotic shadows. The air crackled with an electric tension, and her heart raced like drumbeats in the distance. Where was she now? Ari? Isaiah? Was any of it real? As her vision cleared, she saw herself standing atop a cliff, the ground stitched together with jagged rocks and echoing darkness below. There was no sign of Ari. The swirling shadows had vanished, but fear lingered like a storm cloud ready to break. She felt raw, exposed like taking a deep breath in a freezing winter. Maya. The familiar voice broke through the haze. It was Isaiah, his face just a flicker of relief as he rushed toward her. You made it. What happened? She asked, her voice trembling. Where's Ari? I felt her darkness. She was right here. Isaiah's eyes widened, concern flashing across his features. Ari's gone, for now. That darkness, it's powerful. But what you did, Maya, it was strong. I could feel it. You drew her light toward you. You're not alone in this fight. Maya's trembling hands clenched into fists. But what if I couldn't reach her? What if she is too far gone? Isaiah stepped closer, his gaze steady. We don't know yet. But we can't give up. This place, it has a dark history. This cliff is just a fragment of something much bigger. If we stay here, the shadows will only grow stronger. Determined not to let despair envelop her, Maya nodded. She turned and peered over the edge of the precipice. Below, an abyss of swirling fog churned like the ocean in a storm, dark tendrils reaching up as if trying to claim her. It felt alive, breathing, hungry. Where do we go? Maya asked, spinning around to face Isaiah. There's an old shelter nearby. Rumor has it that the last people who lived here come back to this place and that they left behind clues to fight the darkness. He hesitated. But it's dangerous. We need to be careful. Every step may lead us closer to the answers or drag us into shadows we cannot escape. As Maya took a deep breath, steeling herself, the gnawing dread returned. What if Ari was lost for good? What if the shadows were unstoppable? Together, she whispered, an ember of hope igniting in her chest. As they began to navigate the rocky terrain, Maya's mind raced. She had to find Ari. She couldn't let the abyss claim her friend. With every crack underfoot and gust of wind that trailed behind them, she felt the weight of the darkness, whispering secrets of fear and hopelessness. Suddenly, a chilling scream echoed through the valley, piercing the air and slithering down her spine. The sound was familiar, like a throat choked with terror. Ari. Maya froze, her breath catching. It felt like a lifeline and a death knell all at once. "Did you hear that?" she gasped. Isaiah's expression darkened. "We have to hurry. She's trapped somewhere within this void. We're running out of time." With urgency that filled their veins with adrenaline, they pushed ahead. Each step was a struggle, the air thick with dread. Shadows darted around them like phantoms, mocking whispers teasing at the edge of her sanity. As they reached the shelter, an old cabin rose before them, its door hanging crooked on rusty hinges. The faint scent of decay wafted out, mixing with the cloying taste of desperation lingering in the air. "What if it leads us to Ari? Or worse, what if it's a trap?" Maya thought, biting her lip, her heart thudding loudly as if in agreement with the ominous shadows flitting around them. "Only one way to find out," Isaiah replied, voice steady yet trembling. "We have to face whatever lies within. There's no going back now." Maya stepped forward, heart racing. The door creaked open with a deafening shriek, darkness spilling out as if alive. What awaited them inside could reveal the path to save Ari or become the ultimate nightmare they could never escape. With a deep breath, she plunged into the unknown, following the echoing cries that pulled at her very soul. What if this darkness was a reflection of what they feared the most? The door groaned as it swung inward, revealing an inky abyss. The air inside was stale, carrying whispers that made Maya's skin crawl. The darkness felt dense, pressing against her, making each breath a battle as if the shadows themselves were trying to snuff out the light she hoped still flickered within her. "Stay close," Isaiah warned, stepping beside her, fists clenched. His protective nature was a thin veil against the terror that pooled around them. With shaky steps, they entered the small cabin. Faded photos hung crooked on the walls, faces from a time long lost. Maya's heart pounded louder with each step, the unsettling feeling that they were being watched prickled at the back of her neck. This place reeked of sorrow and secrets, and it felt like the shadows were still mourning the past. As they moved deeper, the floor creaked ominously beneath their feet, the sound echoing in the silence like a heartbeat. Maya glanced at Isaiah, who was scanning the room. The flicker of determination in his eyes reminded her of the light she was fighting to reclaim for Ari. Despite everything, she felt a flicker of hope. "Look there," Isaiah urged, pointing to a cluttered table draped in cobwebs. Scattered on it were old, worn journals, their pages yellowed and crumbling. One journal stood out, a dark, leather-bound book resting slightly ajar. Maya knelt to pick it up, her fingertips brushing the cover. The moment she opened it, a chill infiltrated her bones. The pages were filled with frantic scrawls, incoherent but tinged with urgency. As she flipped through, phrases jumped out at her: "The shadows come for the weak, they call their names, darkness hungers." Her pulse quickened. "Isaiah, this could be something. Maybe it should." Isaiah interrupted, holding a finger to his lips, eyes wide with fear. Maya paused, straining to listen. The echoing cries from earlier climbed back into her mind, but now they were punctuated by another sound, a soft, haunting melody of a familiar lullaby, a song Ari used to sing as they begged their parents to stay with them just a little longer on cold nights. It was soft, yet it sliced through the air like ice. "Do you hear it?" Maya whispered, her heart hammering in her chest. Isaiah nodded, eyes darting around the room. That's the same sound I heard before. It's coming from deeper in." Maya could feel it pulling her like a tide tugging at her legs. The lure of Ari's voice, mixed with the dissonance of that haunting lullaby, entwined around her heart. "We have to go," she said, pulling on Isaiah's arm. But as they made their way toward the back of the cabin, the shadows thickened, swirling like a violent storm. And that's when the temperature dropped, every breath leaving a wispy trail in the air. Fear gripped Maya's throat as the shadows twisted in on themselves, becoming more tangible. Something's not right. Isaiah shouted over the cacophony of whispers that now enveloped them, rising like the frantic screams of thousands. His eyes were wild. What do we do? Maya felt the weight of everything crashing around them, every fear she had been forced to confront circling in a vortex of despair. Find Ari! He yelled, as the shadows began to reach for them, grotesque shapes clawing with dark hands. With urgency, they rounded the corner, pushing through the door at the back of the cabin. The exit led into an even darker passage, stone walls slick and cold, the cries of Ari echoing ahead, louder now, desperate. What if it's a trap? Maya thought, dread roiling in her stomach. But she had to try. The further in they went, the more frantic the cries became, and with every step forward, Maya felt a tremor of hope mingling with her fear, intertwining into a single heartbeat, a connection to Ari that would not be severed. And then, as they stumbled deeper into the belly of the shadows, the passage opened into a breathtaking chamber illuminated by flickering lanterns that cast ominous shadows against the stone walls, revealing the source of the cries. A figure standing on the other side. Every instinct screamed for her to turn back, but now there was no turning back. Maya! Come closer, a soft whisper beckoned out from the figure, twisting her heart with both love and terror. What lay ahead could either save Ari or plunge them all into darkness forever. Maya stepped into the chamber, her heart pounding against her ribcage like a wild animal trying to escape. The flickering lanterns illuminated a figure draped in shadows, half real, half dream. She squinted, searching for a familiar face. Ari, she called out, her voice breaking with a mix of joy and fear. Is that really you? The figure shifted, shadows weaving around its form like ribbons of smoke. Come closer. The voice was sweet, but there was a chill that ran through her at the faint echo of something sinister beneath the surface. It was Ari's voice, but tinged with an unfamiliar resonance. Panic gripped Maya. No. I want to join you. Not like this. Ari's shadowy visage flickered, and for a second, Maya thought she saw clarity, a flicker of the girl she knew. Maya, please help me. The words came through strained, as if fighting against an unrelenting tide. Isaiah stood beside Maya, his expression difficult to read. Don't let her pull you in. We need to fight. Maya nodded, but her heart was torn. Ari, if you can hear me, if you're still in there, fight against whatever holds you. She reached out, but the shadows twisted violently, and the air thickened with a suffocating darkness. Help! Ari's voice echoed, but the tone rippled into something deeper. You don't understand. This darkness is power. It'll consume you. Join me. Shadows lashed out, reaching toward Maya, tendrils entwining around her limbs, pulling at her resolve. Each tug felt like a rope tightening around her throat. Don't listen to it. Isaiah yelled, stepping closer, brandishing the branch like a sword. We're here to save you. We can't lose you to this. Maya's breath hitched as she sensed more figures emerge from the shadows, lost souls surrounding Ari, silent witnesses to Maya's struggle. They, too, bore faces filled with anguished regrets, shadows stretching long behind them. They turned their hollowed eyes toward Maya, some pleading, others resigning to their fate. A strong wave of despair crashed over her. So many lost, but then, amidst the darkness, she could almost feel the warmth of the memories they shared, laughter under the stars, secrets whispered in the dark, dreams carved out of the night. Fight for us, Ari! Maya screamed, summoning every shred of love she had for her friend. Remember who you are. The shadows shuddered as if grasping at something, wrestling against reality itself. Ari's form flickered again, caught between darkness and light, vulnerable but filled with a glimmer of recognition. Maya's heart raced. You're stronger than this. You once illuminated the world with your laughter. Come back to who you were. Ari hesitated before screaming, help me. Break these chains. Maya and Isaiah exchanged determined glances, and the decision was made. They had to unite. We will fight together. Maya declared, feeling the warmth of Isaiah's unwavering presence beside her. Everyone deserves a chance to be free. With that, they raised their hands, channeling their light, their memories, their love, their determination together. It surged forward, brightening the chamber, illuminating every dark corner where shadows lurked. "Let the past go," Maya shouted, her voice clear like a bell. "We won't abandon you." The light exploded, colliding with the shadows, illuminating the tortured faces of lost souls. Ari's figure flickered between despair and gore, caught in a tempest of emotion. "No. Don't do this." The shadows screamed, writhing in agony as the light poured forth, embracing every fragment of dark memory lurking within the chamber. Ari gasped, her voice a trembling whisper, "Maya, I can feel you." All at once, a ripple swept through the room. Maya felt her spirit touch every soul that had been trapped alongside Ari, breaking free from the shackles of despair that bound them. The shadows recoiled, beginning to peel away like an old wound. "You can be free," Maya urged, tears streaming down her face. "Let go of the pain. You don't have to fight this alone." But the darkness didn't relent. It lashed again, furious, swirling and snapping like a pack of wolves. "You will not take her. She belongs to the night. Fight back. Stay with your light." Isaiah shouted, wielding the branch like a beacon against the onslaught. Maya felt the connection to Ari pulse with renewed strength. "I believe in you. Rise." And as she spoke those words, something changed within the shadows. Curtains of darkness began to split apart, freeing lost souls and pulling them away from the abyss. Ari's figure shimmered, growing less distorted, colors of her warmth reappearing as the darkness that wrapped around her shrank back. "Maya, I'm coming back." With sheer determination, she reached a trembling hand toward Ari, urging her to resist the encroaching shadows trapping her. "Take my hand. You are not lost. Not yet." Tendrils struck at Maya, wanting to plunge her into complete darkness, yet her heart raced with each passing second, each beat reaffirming the resilience of love. With one final flicker of light surging through the room, Ari lunged forward, reaching for Maya's outstretched hand. They connected, and in that moment, an explosion of brilliance erupted from their bonds as Ari's light ignited the darkness consuming her, scattering it like paper in the wind. "Yes. You did it," Isaiah shouted. As the darkness evaporated into the ether, the lost souls began to dissolve, their faces finally free of torment, climbing toward the light Ari and Maya had summoned together. "Ari!" Maya exclaimed, tears flowing freely in relief and joy. "I'm here," Ari said, voice steady. The shadows dissipated, leaving only a shimmer of something beautiful and raw. The purity of hope surrounded her, the chamber stilled and the air lightened, warmth emanating where once there was only despair. They were safe for now. Ari stood before Maya, her eyes bright with the glimmer of life regained. "Thank you for not giving up on me." Together, they shared a moment of unspoken understanding, a tapestry of connection woven between bruised souls who had faced darkness but emerged together into the dawn. As the remnants of shadows faded like mist in the sunlight, Maya, Isaiah, and Ari stepped forward into an uncertain world, but for the first time, there was no fear in their hearts, only luminous faith in their course ahead. All three would navigate the wilderness beyond, not as lost wanderers, but as unbreakable bonds pulsing alive with light and the promise of tomorrow. Finally breaking through the door leading out of the cabin, they emerged into a tranquil dawn, the first beams of light streaming softly through the trees, and they took a collective breath, together, but little did they know, the lingering shadow still lurked just beyond the edge of the forest, forever seeking those who felt lost. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling conclusion, you need to subscribe now. This is your moment to show your support and ensure you don't miss any future exclusive stories. Smash that like button to help feed the algorithm and keep these tales coming. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with your friends who need to experience this wild ride. We want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your voice matters.